Hi there guys, Richard McMunn here from howtobecome.com, and in this short presentation I'm going to teach you how to respond to a police officer interview question that is relevant to the core competency of service delivery. Now make sure you've got a pen and some paper with you, because I'm going to give you some really cool tips throughout the duration of the video that will help you to score as highly as possible in the new police officer interview questioning format. So what I'd like you to do as well is give the video a thumbs up at the end if you've enjoyed it, and then also subscribe to the channel, because you will be first to notified whenever we create some useful videos that will help you to get into any kind of job or career. So straight into it, write this down. How should you structure your response? Well, first of all, you need to ask yourself, what was the situation that you were required to deal with? And then you will tell the assessor what that was, because you're going to be assessed against, amongst other core competencies, oral communication. So that's how you structure your response. And by following this process, you will score higher than you would if you don't explain what the situation was. The next thing, what did you consider when dealing with the individual person or the group? So what did you consider, whether it was their needs, whether you considered your own safety, whether you followed the police systems, rules and procedures, and also your training. What was the need you had to respond to, and also what did you decide to do or take into consideration when dealing with it? Okay, so what was the need? Need of the individual, need of the police force, need of the community, etc. Also, what was the outcome? And this is a really good tip, guys, is to say at the end that the outcome was positive following the actions that you took and the other people within the police force. And then the next thing, how did you feel about responding to the need in the way that you did? Now, this is a good thing to say at the end of it. At the end of your response, you can say that I carried out a bit of analysis on my performance and I decided to do X, Y, and Z to improve for next time. That is good, because you're reflecting on your performance, and the police force wants police officers who are open to change and they are able to continually improve. So there's nothing wrong with analysing your performance with a view to improving for next time. Okay, so that's good practice in order to do that. So just to quickly recap, what was the situation you were required to deal with? What did you consider when dealing with the individual or the group of people? What was the need you had to respond to? And also, what did you decide to take into consideration? What was the outcome? And how did you feel about responding in the way that you did? So write all of those down. Now, the next thing, we're going to look at what would constitute a strong response, and also what is a weak response. So with a strong response, basically the police force, it's a public service, as you know, and police officers need to be able to provide a high level of focused service. So this core competency is about service delivery. Strong responses to this kind of question will provide evidence of where the candidate, you, focused on the changing needs of the individual or group and worked hard to achieve a successful outcome which they approved of. So you can see that in your response you're going to have to use the words need, are focused on the needs of the individual or the group. And the sample response that I'm going to give you soon will certainly demonstrate that to great effect. What about a weak response? Well, weak responses are generic in nature, and they generally demonstrate to the interviewer that you are incapable of delivering a high quality service. So an example of a generic response would be, well, I would be able to do that if the situation arose. So you're not being specific. You won't score any marks for that. So make sure you have a specific situation that you can give an example of with regards to the question. So here is the interview question. This is just a sample. Can you provide an example of when you have responded to the changing needs of an individual or a group? So write that question down. What I want you to do is to finish off watching the entire video in its length. So don't skip at any point. Start at the beginning, watch the entire video, and then go back to it again. Watch it time and time again and write down the response, and use this to help you prepare for your own individual response. Can you provide an example of when you've responded to the changing needs of an individual or a group? So let's get into it. Okay, sample response. Whilst working as a team leader at a children's daycare nursery, a couple arrived one morning to inquire about space for their 2 young children. Now, the couple were new to the area and their English was poor. They had only recently moved to England and were originally from China. Now, communication was really difficult, but I was very keen to help them and I was determined to meet their needs. Now, the nursery was not ideally set up to cater for people from different countries, unfortunately, simply because all of our staff were English speaking. However, I decided to change things, and I immediately sought permission from the nursery owners to pay for a telephone interpreter so that we could establish the couple's needs and ascertain what level of service we could offer them. So you'll see in the first 3 paragraphs, I'm mentioning that important word of needs, the individual's needs, twice. Moving on, whilst the couple were at the centre, I managed to source an interpreter by searching on the internet. Now, using the company credit card, which my manager had agreed to, I paid for a 10-minute interpretation service there and then, and asked the interpreter to ask the couple a number of specific questions which focused on their needs for their children and the level of service we could offer them. Now, following the telephone interpretation consultation, I managed to ascertain that the couple wanted to drop their children off at set times each day of the week and leave them in our care for a maximum of 4 hours each time, something which we agreed to. Now, once the couple had left, I then contacted the nursery owner again and persuaded her to allow me to recruit a dedicated nursery nurse staff who could speak Chinese. After explaining the benefits to her, she agreed. I then set about recruiting a member of staff who would be suitable for this role. Now, whilst it was not easy to find a suitably qualified nursery nurse with the appropriate language skills, I did eventually manage to find someone in time for when the couple's children started with us, and the outcome was a successful one. So you'll see in that response that I've gone into detail. Importantly, it's a specific response about a situation that I've been in, and you'll also notice that I focused on the needs of the individuals. I changed something within the organisation which was not there before to the benefit of the organisation and the customer. And you'll notice at the end that I said the outcome was a successful one. So I've clearly demonstrated the core competency there of service delivery. Now, it doesn't have to be police related. Okay, this has got nothing to do with the police force, but it does tick the boxes within the core competency. So like I say, once we finish the video, watch this again in its entirety, take notes, and try and look how I've structured that response. Now, what I also want you to do is to get more tips from me and the company howtobecome.com by simply clicking the link which is in the video, the link which is in the description below the video, and that will take you through to a page which shows you where you can get more sample questions and responses for the new kind of police officer interview. So if you want to pass the process for becoming a police officer, click the link below. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you all the very best in your pursuit for becoming a police officer.